Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Story Hunters. And basically, let's just jump right into it. I'm so excited to do this interview with you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Carla Martinez, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Sounds great. We are super excited to start this. We're based in the most mysterious city of Los Angeles, or at least that's what some people say. And what we do is we hunt stories, we talk about supernatural experiences, and we provide a safe space for everyone to talk about such things. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us what happened? I'm super excited to hear it.
Okay, I have numerous stories, but I'll start out with the one that was very, wow, it was emotional and powerful for my family. What happened was my daughter, she was around 6 or 7 years old, and she had asked if she could ride her bike. It was one after, late afternoon, and I told her yes, and the bike was in the shed. So I gave her the key to the shed, and I said, "Here's the key. And when you're done, make sure and put the bike and lock it back up in the shed." So she went and she was riding in the neighborhood with her friends for a few hours. And when she went to go to put the bike back in the shed, she could not find the key. So she knew I was going to be upset. So she looked around in the yard and in her pockets, trying to find the key, and she couldn't find it. So she started crying, and she told me that she had prayed to God and was like, "God, please help me find the key." So she came in the house and she said, "Ma, I can't find the key to the shed." And I'm like, "What do you mean you lost the key to the shed?" She said, "I can't find it." So I went out in the yard, and my boyfriend at the time, we went out and we were looking all over for the key. She was trying to help us find the key. We could not find it. Now, granted, she said she thought she lost the key when she was in the front yard. So we were, concentrating in the front yard, and we couldn't find it. So, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to, get another lock and to put on the shed. So I was in the backyard, and there's like a tree like right by the shed, and I was standing under the tree, just standing there because I was talking to my boyfriend, and I had on flip-flops, and I felt something hit my foot, and when I looked down, it was the key.
Wow.
And I looked at my boyfriend, he looked at me. He's like, "What is that the key?" And I'm like, "That's the key." The key came from out of nowhere. Now, we didn't know she had prayed until after the fact. And when I told her, that I had the key, and I was like, "Joy, what? Tell me, exactly what happened." And then that's when she had told me that she had prayed and asked God to help her find the key. So, and to this day, I still have that key. Yeah,
Wow. This is
yeah,
absolutely incredible. Yeah, it sounds like God literally heard her prayer and helped you find the key. I think it's
yeah,
amazing. And I think it's
yeah,
also really incredible that you actually still keep the key, as the reminder that God is always with you, that God hears you. I think it's very
yes.
important to have that reminder. Um, Also, yeah, I think this is truly incredible, and I think that when it comes to, kids, that are completely innocent, what people say is that they have, like, a bigger connection to God, that's what some
Yeah.
people say, and I think that's truly incredible. Has anything similar happened afterwards?
Um, well, not similar, but here recently, within the last about 3 months ago, my daughter, she's a mom now, so she has two daughters. She's married, and it was a holiday. No, we were celebrating my son's birthday. He was here visiting from Virginia, and we were all in my living room area. And I have a 2 year old granddaughter, and she was moving her mouth like she had something in her mouth. And I'm like, "Well, what's in your mouth?" And so when I opened her mouth, it was like a little piece of glass in her mouth. And
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
yeah, and I'm like, "Where does this come from?" Right? And there was nothing broken in the house or anything. So I took the glass out of her mouth, and everybody was there. They saw it. So we just went about our day. And then later that afternoon, we were in the backyard. barbecuing, and my daughter and myself, we were sitting on the ground, and my daughter had her legs stretched out, and something fell and hit her foot, and it was a piece of glass.
Whoa. Oh my god.
Yes.
That's
And
kinda
I
scary.
do not know, I don't understand it. I don't know, why these things are happening to us. Try not to get emotional, but yeah.
Mm.
And my daughter looked at me and she said, "Mom, it's a piece of glass." And I to this day, I don't know. I don't know what it means. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that happened.
I understand. It's definitely a scary experience, and I'm so sorry that you
Yeah.
had to go through it. But one thing is, like, I think it's really important, like, if you believe in God, to maybe, like, start praying and do these things, um,
Yes.
or just, do your best to maybe, like, get some holy water in your house or something like that. Typically, like, when it's one thing happening over and over again, like, some of our podcast guests have been mentioning that they were constantly having, like, weird scratches on their body, like, out of nowhere,
Hmm.
and it would, like, happen constantly, and those would be, like, really light scratches, but they would still be occurring. So, not to 100% that that's what it is, but, um,
Yeah.
the interviewer was saying that they were being followed by a certain creature, so, that's what they were saying. I don't know if that works in the same way as, the piece of glass. Uh,
Yeah.
let's hope that, everything is okay, but, I think that, yeah, you shouldn't be scared, but it's certainly something that, needs attention, and it really does sound really, like, supernatural. Like,
Yeah.
why would the piece of glass be there, multiple
Yeah,
times?
exactly.
Uh,
Right.
yeah. Um, so let's see. Have you tried taking any precautions already, like maybe praying or like buying holy water?
Yeah, I prayed about it. Like it wasn't like I I didn't feel scared. I just didn't understand why it was happening because I am a devout Christian and I pray and I feel that I have a close relationship with God, so I'm not afraid that something evil is out to get me or anything, but it was just so bizarre. And, I couldn't understand why it happened, like where it came
Me
from.
neither.
And then I started thinking, you know, am I like in another dimension? Like all these crazy thoughts were going through my head because it just came out of nowhere. So yeah, I prayed about it and I asked God to reveal it to me. But to this day, yet I still don't understand why it happened.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And when weird things start to happen, a lot of people start asking these questions, like, why is it happening? Are we now in a different dimension or something like that? Like, there's this whole theory about like quantum mechanics where people sort of shift universes constantly. What if
Hmm.
I ended up in a universe where, red light means green light, things like that. But basically if you're praying, if you believe in God and you feel protected, then I would say you shouldn't be scared of it. But it
Yeah,
certainly is very strange. So that's very interesting. Do you have any
yeah,
other stories to share?
yes. Doves, doves seem to like followed me for like 4 to 5 years. When I would move to different places, a dove's nest would always end up like at my door front. Like since I moved here, I haven't seen any, but it has happened like 2 or 3 times to the point where they would stay and they would always come around the time that they I guess mate and have babies because there will always be eggs and they hatch and then the doves disappear and then they would come back. But when I right before I left San Antonio, Texas, before I moved here to Tampa, they were on the reef on my door.
Whoa.
And a dove would just stay on the reef for like hours. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, and it was, I just felt like it was some form, some symbol of protection from God. That's the feeling that I got inside, but it was amazing.
Wow.
And I took pictures and I still have those pictures, in my phone. But yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think it'd be amazing if you could send those pictures to us. Maybe we could like put it in the
Okay.
podcast. That'd be really amazing. But I think it's a
Okay.
great story, and I think it's one of the proofs that God is there with you. He's out there to protect you. And it's kind of similar to that story with keys. So it seems like um God is protecting you. So going back to the glass thing, you probably shouldn't be worried about it, from what it
Yeah.
sounds like. But it is absolutely amazing. Do you ever feel like uh they're trying to communicate with you, or they're just kind of just there?
I never felt like they were trying to communicate with me, but for years and years and years, I've always felt like I was being, what's the word? Secluded. Like I felt like God was like keeping me secluded from whatever. I've always felt that way for years. Like to this day, like I'm a loner. I don't really hang out. I don't really have friends that, I go out and hang out with. And I always feel like I have I know everyone has a purpose here on earth, but I always feel like whatever my purpose is, I have to be like set apart from others.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've always felt that.
That's very interesting. So how does that make you feel? Would you want to have a different purpose, or or it's perfectly fine for you?
Now I'm okay with it because I now that I'm older, but when I was younger, it bothered me a lot because I always tried to fit in and I would never fit in. Never fit in the circle. It was like I was always outside of the circle and it always bothered me, but now I have embraced it and I'm okay with it because I feel in my heart that, it's for a reason. Yeah, so I'm okay. But yeah, I struggled for a while. And my daughter, the same.
Same.
She's going, yeah, yeah, my daughter is the same. Yeah.
Wow, I think it's very interesting, and I do know that, a lot of people who cannot fit in, they might feel isolated, but, if you think
Mm.
about it, typically um, it means that they are unique, and it means that they have a really special purpose on this planet. So it does make younger people upset because, wanna go out and, like, hang out with friends, um, especially if they're not introverted. But in some
Right.
sense, maybe it's another form of protection. Maybe if that person were to, um hang out with a lot of people. Maybe something would have happened to them. Who knows? Maybe they're just being
Yeah.
protected that way for, again, maybe they just have like a really high purpose. And the fact that your daughter is going through the same things right now, um, maybe it's like a family things where you all have like this special purpose. So I think this is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any other things to share today?
There's one. I really didn't want to share it, but I will. This is like from the beginning when I was like 16 or 17 years old. One night I had went to bed and I felt myself lifted out of my bed and I could look down and see myself laying in the bed. And then when I looked straight, I just saw a bright light. And I don't know how long I was like lifted out of my bed, but when I looked straight, I saw a bright light and I just looked at it for I don't know how long. And then I could feel myself just going back I guess inside my body. Yeah, and
Whoa.
this is I was a teenager.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
No. Yeah, and I remember telling my mom about it, but yeah. And then in the past, I had read stories where other people had that same exact experience.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't know.
I don't know, it's strange, but I think it's called, like, astral projections or something, where people can
Yeah.
actually, like, I was talking to this guy who was really into this stuff, and he said he even bought, like, an online course, which was really expensive, about how to actually do that, where he would actually
Hmm.
just fall asleep, would be completely aware, and then get out of his body and just go wherever he wants. Yeah, he claimed that he could see his body and like move around. And he said that it's pretty difficult at first. We could only do that for like a couple of seconds, and then he could do it for a minute or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's very similar to lucid dreaming, where a person is aware that they're asleep and they can control their dream, except
Yeah.
it's claiming to be actually, like, leaving person's body and just, like, you know, doing other things while the body is asleep, which is really, really weird, but, that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. Um, Let me ask you this, how did that make you feel? Were you scared? Were you calm?
Um, I was a little scared because I remember telling my mom about it, and I was a little scared, and I was like, "Did I die or you know what?" But then as I got older, and then I started reading, stories where other people had the same exact experience, and I was like, "Okay, maybe this is also like a supernatural, spiritual thing." I mean, I still don't understand what it means, but
Yeah, there are
yeah,
there are certain teachings that claim that it basically happens every single night when a person's asleep, their soul leaves their body, but we don't know about it.
yeah.
Like, we don't know.
Oh,
But
okay.
some people in some circumstances can actually, like, feel it and be aware of it, which is really incredible. It's considered like a superpower, like a supernatural ability where you can actually,
Yeah.
like, be aware of it. Was it the only time it happened to
Oh, okay.
you?
That the one and only time.
Wow,
Yep. The one and only, and I can still remember it vividly. Yep. But it only happened the one time.
interesting. Can you think
Yeah.
of, like,
Yeah.
maybe events that were happening during that life period? Anything unusual?
I don't the only thing unusual was that I spent a lot of, because I'm still a loner to this day. And I know used to spend a lot of time in my bedroom just doing things I used to like to do, draw and read and stuff. And I would spend a lot of time in my room, and my parents thought, that something was wrong, like I was maybe depressed or whatever. And I was like, no, I just like spending time in my room, because my house was like the house where everyone would come and party and have a good time. And I was, the quiet one who, didn't like all that going on, right? So that's the only thing I could think of. But I was a happy child. I had a good childhood and everything. And I just remember that night when I had laid down to go to bed that it happened.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting, and yeah, and you
Yeah.
also saw, like, a bright light on top, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a very bright light. And it was like I just stayed elevated for a while, and I watched the light, and then I could just feel myself just go right back down into my body. Yep. Oh, and when I looked down, I actually saw myself laying there asleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you wake
Yeah.
up right after that happened, or was it, like, next morning?
I can't remember. I can't remember if I woke up right after or the next morning or not.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah, the reason
remember.
I'm asking this is,
Yeah.
like, if you were to wake up right after that happened, you could have sort of feel if you were in the same position that you saw yourself in when you were coming down back in your
Yeah.
body. So yeah, that's why I was curious, 'cause just to
Oh,
like see if the position was the same. Uh, But
Yeah,
yeah, it's still very interesting, like, the fact that you saw yourself, like, sleeping, yeah, that must have been really
yeah,
scary. And so when
yeah.
you were in that state, do you remember if you, sort of how did you feel? Did you feel like you were another body floating? Basically what I'm asking is, did you feel your physicality, when you were in that state?
I no, all I felt was my eyes was just looking at the bright light, but I wasn't aware of like my body or anything. It was just that my eyes was looking at this bright light, and then I just felt myself just going down, down, and then I just went right back into my body laying in the bed.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's truly incredible. Also, like, the fact that you saw bright light, and I think like we talked about already, that God is protecting you and, like, maybe have, like, a special, mission. Maybe God wanted to show you something. Bright light, people associate it with, like, godly, holy things, angels, heaven, that's what people associate it with. So maybe God wanted to show you something, or maybe it was like an angel.
Yeah.
I was watching this fictional show called Supernatural. I'm a huge fan of it, and when
Hmm.
they showed angels, um, out like
Yeah.
in that show, angels would like possess a human's body, but when they were coming out, it was just an incredibly bright light that was like blinding people, literally. Yeah,
Really? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
and it was a fictional show, but some of the things were based, like,
Yeah.
on, real, religious teachings and, like, mythology and some real supernatural things that people have experienced in real life. So who knows? Maybe it was an angel trying to communicate or something like that. I
Could have
think it's
been.
truly, truly incredible. So basically, I think all of these stories are really amazing. I wanted to ask you, like, do you have a favorite one? Is there like story that made you particularly like interested and made you feel good? The
The
key,
key.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The key, yeah, really made me. And I know there are like other ones too. Like one time, I was coming home from work at night, and where I worked was like maybe a 30-40 minute drive with traffic home. And I left work and my car was running just fine. And as soon as I turned on the street of my where my home was, my car just stopped. And I had to get out of the car and walk to my house, but it was in the neighborhood I grew up in, so I wasn't, afraid. But I felt like that was God protecting me once again. He waited until I got, safe and the car, broke down and I got out of my car and walked to the house. That one was incredible
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I heard of these stories.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get upset when their plans are working out, or maybe when their car breaks down or something like that. But you can
Yeah.
also look at the bright side of things. Maybe it was for the better. Maybe it was something that was trying to protect you. Like, sometimes people are like, "Oh,
Yeah.
dang, I couldn't make it to this party." But who knows? Maybe something would have happened. So I think it's
Yep.
really important to um see the positivity of certain things, and I definitely have witnessed some things not working out, and then it was just working out for the better good for people that I know, like my friends, my family. So I think it's really important to see that and recognize it and have that sort of instinct, intuition. I also
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, do you feel like overall, do you have good intuition?
I feel that I do. Yeah. Yes.
Interesting.
And I know I have a gift of discernment, especially if a person I don't know if I'm using the right wording, but like if a person has a good spirit about them, like I can pick up on it just like that. And not all the time I can pick up on someone who's not good spirited, but there are times where I'll get a very uneasy feeling about people, and I'll try to keep my distance from
Right.
them. But finding someone that's like me, I can pick up on it right
Wow.
away.
I think
Yeah.
this is truly incredible.
Hmm.
And it's really important.
Yeah.
Many people don't have that, but based on the stories you told me, it felt like you must have that gift of having that sixth sense. Um, and I think
Yeah.
it's truly incredible. It helps people, go through their life in some way or another. And I think it's important to listen to that because a lot of people with this gift, they ignore it, but I think it's really important to
Yeah.
let that in, and actually see what your intuition is trying to tell you. Uh, yeah, I think it's
Right.
absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Do you have anything to share, promote social media, maybe like a message to your viewers?
Yeah, there's one more quick one that just popped in my mind. When I was at work one day, um, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and we saw something like sparkling on the ground because I always talk about. I had one coworker at work that I really talked about God about a lot, and we were talking, and when I looked on the ground, it was like a little gold charm that you would put on your necklace, and it said Carla
No
Love,
way.
and it had, yeah, and it had a silver, I mean, the diamond, a little diamond jewel in it, and that's my birthstone. So my message to people is to always love. God is really big on love. Yeah, and I still have that little thing too. I
Wow,
kept,
that is
yeah,
truly incredible. If you want,
yeah.
you can snap a photo of it and send it to us. It would be really amazing. Yeah,
Okay,
to
I
show it
will.
on the podcast, I think this is truly incredible, and that's a really
Yeah,
important final message. Just love others, love God. Yeah, I
love
think it's
others.
amazing.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much. You have really good energy, really good vibe. Really
Welcome.
appreciate doing this interview.
Thank you.
All right.